A recent episode of the popular game show Wheel of Fortune has sparked outrage among social media mobs. In the episode that premiered on Monday, February 22, 2021, one of the contestants was Chris Brimble, who happened to speak with a lisp. While this in itself is nothing significant, it caused a stir when host Pat Sajak appeared to have mocked the contestant's lisp. During the Q&A session, the host asked Mr. Brimble about his career. Mr. Brimble discussed how his job involved bringing technology gear to senior citizens. Pat Sajak stated he felt the job must be challenging. Mr. Brimble responded by stating that many seniors were open to adopting new technology. The surprised host then responded by saying, "I fee," as opposed to "I see."
And that's a tough thing, too, because technology and sometimes people are not open to new ideas.
You'd be surprised how open they are.
Yeah, good. Yeah. Well, I'm glad. So that's just a myth.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
it is.
I see.
Making it seem as if he was mocking Mr. Brimble's lisp. That's when all hell broke loose. When Pat Sajak responded with "I fee," the contestant Chris Brimble didn't seem to be offended. He chuckled and moved on with the rest of the game.
I see.
The entire incident lasted a few seconds and could have been forgotten about immediately. But in the age of social media, nothing offensive gets forgotten. While Mr. Brimble didn't seem to care about Pat's remark, many people on Twitter felt that the Wheel of Fortune host was being insensitive and rude. They felt his humor was mean-spirited and he had to be called out on it. The outrage directed towards Pat Sajak included remarks stating he was overpaid and that late Jeopardy host Alex Trebek was far better than him. He was also told he should quit his job because of his insensitive remarks. As of now, though, there doesn't seem to be any serious discussion of Sajak getting fired or quitting. However, this most recent outrage towards him is a continuation of a long line of criticism. This is not the first time in recent memory he's said something on Wheel of Fortune that's rubbed people the wrong way. In November 2020, Pat Sajak had an outburst on the show. Contestant Darren McBain had to solve a puzzle by providing words that begin with the word kitchen. He correctly answered kitchen cabinet, kitchen oven, kitchen towels, and kitchen sink. While Mr. McBain got the answer right, he was puzzled by the fact that kitchen oven was an actual phrase. When he questioned this, Pat Sajak seemed to have been annoyed. Mr. McBain stated, "Kitchen oven? What was that?" Pat Sajak responded by saying, "Yeah, where else would you keep an oven?" Mr. McBain then said, "For sure in the kitchen, but who calls it a kitchen oven?" This seemed to have ticked off Pat Sajak, who began to yell, "You won! Don't argue, Darren. Ungrateful players. I've had it."
I won, Darren. You got the puzzle. Ungrateful players, I've had it.
He then laughed and added, "No, I'm just teasing. I finally snapped." Viewers didn't know what to make of this scene, but the interchange must have affected Pat Sajak, as he brought it up later in the episode. He apologized to Mr. McBain, saying, "I'm sorry I yelled at you. It's just that I don't remember your mother giving us trouble like you did," making reference to Mr. McBain's mother, who appeared on the show in the 80s.
Sorry I yelled at you, Darren. I just don't remember your mother giving us trouble like you did. Hey, congratulations. Nice job.
This short outburst was enough to draw the attention of the social media mob. Many people mocked his tirade and found it hilarious. Others began referencing the phrase kitchen oven as part of their comedic material. This particular incident seemed to bring more humor than ire. There were no major calls for Pat to step aside or get fired, but this wasn't the only time he was under scrutiny for his behavior. In fact, only a few days after the incident, Pat Sajak chastised another Wheel of Fortune contestant. During one episode, the host took a break to plug one of the show's sponsors, Dick's Sporting Goods. While he was in the middle of plugging the company, one contestant accidentally spun the wheel too early, as she thought it was her turn. This must have greatly annoyed the host, as he said to her, never interrupt. Never interrupt a plug."
Never interrupted.
Sorry.
Never interrupted.
The contestant, Cheryl Sennett, apologized for taking a spin. Nevertheless, Pat Sajak laughed and responded by saying, "You can do anything else, but don't interrupt." This incident brought jokes, criticism, and concern on social media. Some Twitter users tweeted jokes about the incident. They thought it was funny that Sajak got annoyed when he was interrupted doing a plug. His statement to, quote, "never interrupt a plug" seemed to have garnered fame on Twitter. However, other users felt Pat was rude and needed to calm his temper on the show. Others, including loyal fans, felt he was tired of his hosting duties and he should step aside. Within a span of 10 days, there were 3 incidents that eventually led to fans wanting Pat Sajak fired after his latest backlash. There was a stern look he gave a contestant, his chiding of Darren McBain, and his chastising of Cheryl Sennett. There was also another incident that upset many fans. On an episode shown on December 23, 2020, Pat Sajak mocked a contestant who reminisced about the now long gone shopping spree segment that used to be a regular feature on the show. The host made it clear he didn't miss the segment, nor did he care for it in the first place. In fact, both Pat and his co-host, Vanna White, seemed to have had a distaste for the shopping spree segment. Pat stated he found it to be one of the most boring segments in television history. Many loyal fans were upset at this revelation. They must have felt it was in poor taste for him to critique past versions of the beloved show. The latest incident of mocking Chris Brimble's lisp seemed to be the straw that broke the camel's back. Hey, if you're enjoying this video so far, make sure you give it a like, and stick around for a little bit more about Pat Sajak. As of now, we have yet to see whether these incidents will pass or whether Pat Sajak's future as the host of Wheel of Fortune will be called into question. But how does he feel about his hosting job? Is he indeed tired of his hosting duties? Pat Sajak is currently the longest-running game show host in American game show history. Became the host of Wheel of Fortune in 1981, 6 years after the show's premiere. He instantly became a favorite and has become synonymous with the success of the show, along with co-host Vanna White. Pat had small stints on local radio stations and TV stations before becoming the host of Wheel of Fortune. While he hadn't found much success prior to hosting the show, his charming personality was recognized. He immediately won audiences over when he became the host of Wheel in 1981. He also had great chemistry with his co-host, Vanna White, and the show has now become a staple of American entertainment. But in recent years, there have been questions about how much longer he'll continue hosting. He's now in his 70s and has had recent health problems. In 2019, he underwent emergency surgery to remove a blockage in his intestines. During his hiatus, Vanna took over as host. His daughter Maggie Sajak also helped out on a few episodes. In December of 2019, Pat returned to his hosting duties. Fans were happy to see him back, though questions continued about the future of his hosting. Many believe that as he's aging, it's best for him to step aside. They've speculated that Vanna White can become the next lead host. Pat's hosting contract is currently active through 2022. However, since his surgery, he stated he might wish to retire soon. He hasn't given a set date or time span, though he did say his retirement time span was in the single digits.
At some point, and I don't have a date in mind, but 2, 3, something like that.
While his fans love him, they might wish for him to end on a good note. Unfortunately, some of his most recent incidents have upset many viewers. One can hope that when he decides to retire, it will be done so in dignity. So what do you think about the outrage directed towards Pat Sajak? Do you think he should get fired or step aside? Or have we become overly sensitive as a society and need to move on from these types of incidents? Let us know your thoughts in the comments section below. And before you go, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe to our channel. Click the bell icon to stay updated on all our latest content.